Yes, yes, the Casanovians. Gentlemen, happy Sunday. I know what you're thinking. Oh, Kristian, I thought it was the final live stream that you're ever going to do. So, my strategy going forwards is to do more of these sporadic and spontaneous live streams. So, rather than just doing daily streams, I'm going to focus more on creating deep, valuable streams that really help to allow you to undergo crazy paradigm shifts. I do believe that the game of attracting women, creating those cosmic connections, finding a wife worthy woman, I do believe it's 93% in a game. Like, you can have all the money in the world, you can have the looks, you can have the status, you can have on paper all of those materialistic trophies and possessions which scream to society that you're successful. But if your internal hasn't caught up with your external, if you still feel like the ugly duckling on the inside, if you feel as though you'll be happy when, you'll be happy if, it's constantly chasing the dragon, it's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And really what I help guys do in my coaching is go beneath the surface, like really hit deep in that bedrock of consciousness to find out who they actually are, what they actually want, not what they've been brainwashed by the brain dead into thinking they should want to want. Most charlatans, most coaches in this space, they just focus on techniques, push, pull, vibe, stack, what to say, how to stand, what to wear. This is why they don't get results. This is why they don't show any results, because they don't actually understand what it takes to get results. Like, I'm not teaching you how cold approach works. I'm teaching you how you can become the version of yourself who cold approach can work for. And we do that by not chasing goals. We chase an identity. Who do you need to become to live the life that you want to live? Understanding we become what we pretend to be. It's not fake it till you make it. It's believe it so you can become it. Make your actions align with your ambitions. If you pretend to be confident, you are by default a confident person. I train Muay Thai at least 3 times a week here in Bangkok. My mindset when I'm training Muay Thai is I pretend that I am the world's greatest Muay Thai fighter. The reason why I do that is because it taps into a state of mind, an identity that I would embody if I truly was the greatest Muay Thai fighter. Like, what would I do? How would I operate? How would I carry myself? How would I show up to training if I believed or if I pretended to be the world's greatest Muay Thai fighter? This is how I've recreated my entire identity. It's how I've gone from a scared, insecure, lost little boy who just wanted to be loved by the feminine. How I've gone from being addicted to porn, having no money in my bank account, living in a grotty apartment in central Leeds, operating my life like a low-life loser. How I've actually gone from that version of myself that you can see. Just go back onto the oldest videos on this channel. You can see how much of a hovel I used to live in. But this is how I've recreated myself to now live in this international lifestyle, have an amazing girlfriend, building a 6-figure business, just traveling the world, being the best in the world at what I do. Like, none of it's happened by luck, it's happened by design. And it all started by having a clear idea of who I wanted to be and then just being relentless with it. So in this stream, I want to explain to you how I helped a 50-year-old business owner who had it all on paper, a guy who should be crushing it with women, the sort of guy who fits in to this manospheric archetype of looks, money, status, but still got to 50 years old and had still not cracked the dating game. So he actually reached out to me at 49 years old. It was in the summer of last year. And he reached out to me, 49. He was about to turn 50. And we just got super deep on that first consultation call that we had. And the guy in question, we'll call him Sean. So I coached him one-to-one in person in Malaga over the summer. And he knew exactly what he wanted when he reached out to me. He was done with play in the field. He wasn't going out there to chase the next notch or some empty lay which provides no nourishment to your overall soul and just leaves you feeling more empty than before the act. He didn't want all that shit. He was done with dating apps. He was too old for nightclubs. Social circle wasn't an option because the majority of his social circle were high-level business owners. There weren't that many females, and the females that there were, they just weren't the type of women that he was looking to attract. And he knew that he wanted to start a family as well. Yeah, he knew that he wanted to start a family. He knew that he wasn't getting any younger, about to turn 50. He's watched a lot of his friends settle down, have children, start families, and he'd put so much emphasis on building his business, becoming, I would say, the best in his industry at what he does, like just completely smoked everybody else in his industry. Even once he started working with me, before we even did our in-person in Malaga, he was attending our Entourage weekly coaching calls and just providing so much value to other business owners that it was just insane. Yeah, so this was a guy who on paper, he had it all. And everybody who knows Sean inside the Entourage, I think they were sort of questioning when they first saw Sean on our first weekly group coaching call that he joined. Like, why does this guy need any help? Like, surely this guy is absolutely crushing it. But I think what you see and what somebody is are very different stories. So when Sean reached out to me, his primary goal, and these were his exact words, were to kill the needy bitch inside of him. So historically, and I can resonate with Sean's story, he would lose himself in relationships. Like, he would become too available. He would enter relationships from this place of scarcity rather than abundance. And actually, one of the biggest paradigm shifts for Sean, which eventually resulted in him recently meeting a wife-worthy woman. And this is literally the woman that he is seriously considering wifing up, starting a family, like actually having children with. I'm going to explain more about that and how we were actually able to accomplish this in 182.5 days, which in the grand scheme of things is actually not a lot of time. Yeah, it's always nice to be able to say, hey, I helped this guy get a girlfriend experience in 2 days, or I helped this guy get multiple dates a week in 7 days. And that's awesome. But the stories that I really love, especially as a consumer of content, is like a 6-month time horizon. Like, you imagine 6 months compared to the rest of your life to overcome a lot of limiting beliefs. 6 months is not a long time to go from where you are right now to your dream reality. Like, imagine if you woke up in 6 months' time and you'd met the woman of your dreams. It's not a long time, is it? But one of the biggest paradigm shifts for Sean was when I said on a live stream, and I say it over and over again, but for some reason it really stuck with Sean, is when I said abundance is not always having, it's knowing you can have. Abundance is not always having, it's knowing you can have. If you understand that and you operate from that place of the knowing that you can have, the relationships that you will create with the feminine will be beyond anything you've ever experienced in your life. Because most relationships today, in my opinion, are based off of scarcity. Loyalty comes from a place of scarcity. You might be in a relationship or even a situationship right now with a woman, and you don't want her, you just want someone, but you're scared of pulling the plug of the relationship because you've not yet become the version of yourself who knows how to have. And this is why I say most men live the same year 75 times and call it a life. And Sean knew that was the trajectory that he was on. He was like, I can't imagine doing this for another 25 years. It's now or never. Yeah, I need to learn a skill that gives me this sensation of abundance. I can't continue being needy, supplicating. I want to have the same savvy that I have with my business in my relationships. But the first thing that I would say to you before we go any further is this is actually what we're chasing. You might think it's money, You might think it's women. You might think it's fame or status. You're not actually chasing any of these things. And this is probably one of the biggest realizations I've had. We're not chasing the things. We're chasing the feeling that these things give us. So usually it's freedom, it's love, it's approval, it's validation. And the mistake that I made for years, and I see a lot of guys making, is they're chasing the dragon. They're chasing a thing, not realizing that it's not the thing that's going to make them whole. It's the feeling of the thing that they're chasing. And if you study the work of Neville Goddard, you will know that the way that we actually attract these things is assuming the state of the wish already fulfilled. You imagine what it would feel like to already have these things. This then puts you into a state of gratitude, of abundance, of the knowing that you can have. You understand that you only need one. You only need one wife-worthy woman to think that you are God's gift to this earth, to have an incredible date in life. And really, abundance just comes down to having two great options. Like, you imagine that you've got two wife-worthy women who are competing over your attention right now. That's an abundant date in life, especially if you're anything like me. I didn't have my first girlfriend until 18 years old. My first girlfriend, the girl that I lost my virginity to, I struggled getting an erection with her for like the first portion of our relationship because I had quite a troubled childhood. I always found fear in the feminine, and I used to see the act of sex as this deal breaker. I'm like, if I don't perform for this woman, then she will leave, in the same way that my father left when my parents got divorced at 5 years old. So all of these abandonment issues, they always used to come out in my relationships with the feminine. And I was always operating from this place of lack rather than from this place of abundance. So I see my former version of myself in my clients. I understand exactly what people need. You don't need to learn lines. You don't need to learn routines. You don't need to have all of this these gimmicky games that you're playing. Oh, I need to be high value, push, pull, vibe, stack. What you need is the thing that I teach. It's anti-game artistry, where we can just cut through all of the noise, allow you to connect with your most authentic self, strip back all of these layers of social conditioning, reject anything from your reality that no longer resonates with you, and present yourself to the world as you are, rather than as you feel as though you should be. And when you're operating from this place, you can walk into every interaction with the feminine, whether it's on the street, at a bar, even at a club, if that floats your boat. And your mindset is, this is me, take it or leave it. And it's so simple in its understanding that you don't need anything else. You just need to remove the unnecessary. When the Pope asked Michelangelo, how did you sculpt David? Like, what was the genius behind David? Michelangelo turned to the Pope and simply said, I just chipped away everything that wasn't David. It's the removal, not the addition, that allow you to find paradise. So with Sean, the same thing that I do with all my guys inside the Entourage. We kick things off properly with an in-person, one-to-one coaching experience. So I flew out to Malaga, not a bad place to go to, and I worked with him one-on-one, right? So I gave him the playbook, I held him accountable for his actions. I remember the first day actually in Malaga, we sat down at this cafe in the center, and for the first 30 minutes we literally spoke about business and the ideas that I shared with him. He was like, dude, what you've just shared with me in these 30 minutes, like, I've paid like tens of thousands of dollars for business mentoring in the past. This was more valuable. I didn't even pay you for business mentoring. Like, the advice that I gave to Sean effectively tripled his business. And he was like, I can't believe I've never thought of this before. So we started off that way. And then we got cracking. Then we got into it. And he was apprehensive at first. Of course he was. He had all these self-limiting beliefs like, oh shit, am I too old? What are people going to think? Oh, if people see me approaching, are they going to think I'm weird? And really what I do with my guys, especially during that one-to-one in-person experience, is I allow them to learn through osmosis. This is like one of the core pieces of feedback that I get from my clients. When they are around somebody who has truly got to a point of radical acceptance, I truly accept myself now, and it's taken me a long time to get there. When you're around that type of energy, you become what you're surrounded with. right? Proximity is power. I don't know if you've ever heard the 10,000 hour rule. I can't remember who championed that. Was it Malcolm Gladwell? Somebody. The 10,000 hour rule is actually flawed. People think if they spend 10,000 hours doing something, then they will achieve mastery. But Naval Ravikant, who is one of my favorite entrepreneurs, angel investors, philosophical thinkers, Naval Ravikant said it's not about 10,000 hours. It's about 10,000 iterations. It's about 10,000 iterations. So you could be going out there now and you could be thinking that you're practicing cold approach the right way. And you might think that all it needs is more reps for you to develop a point of proficiency. And that might be true if you're taking the right actions. There's nothing worse than going out there, doing thousands of approaches, spending 10,000 hours approaching women, repeating the same mistakes, because all you're doing is solidifying the wrong behavior and you effectively become great at the wrong thing. It's kind of like if I was going to Muay Thai and attempting to train myself, it's like practicing the worst form over and over again. Yeah, I get great at the wrong thing. Or it's kind of like if you go to the gym without a personal trainer, without any feedback, without recording your sets, and practicing the wrong form for squats or for deadlifts. Over time, that 10,000 hours is probably going to result in you having a nasty injury because you've been practicing the wrong thing wrong. I don't know if that sentence made sense. The wrong thing wrong. You've been practicing the wrong thing. And Sean knew this. Sean knew that at 49, about to turn 50, he couldn't afford to be doing or practicing the wrong thing. So he needed somebody such as myself by his side. He could learn by watching me in the field and by implementing 10,000 iterations. Yeah, it's the same with anything that you want to get great at, whether it's a language, a martial art, a skill like daytime call approach. It's about implementing feedback that allows you to become incrementally better. So as we were spending time in Malaga, we did this. It was really awesome, actually. We did this social freedom exercise on, I think it was day 3 of the immersion, where effectively I got Sean to stand about 100 meters away from me in the main strip in Malaga. And I recorded a video of him in public, but you imagine if I'm 100 meters away from him. So he actually was having to like bellow just to get picked up by the camera. And at first he didn't want to do it. At first he was apprehensive. He's like, dude, this is a bit too much for me. Just like talking in public to a camera that's 100 meters away from me. I don't think I can do it. I just reminded him, like, you know, none of these people give a shit about you. In 100 years' time, none of this is going to matter. Are you really going to allow fear to dictate your life forever? Because this is the way that I view all this stuff. Yeah, cold approach. The fuck does that even mean? What is game? It's learning how to get what you want. It's freedom from bullshit. Yeah, in this society that wants to keep us static, spectators, be a good boy, work your 9 to 5, do what you're told, live the same year 75 times and call it a life, wait till you're 60 so you can retire, and then maybe then you can go on a cruise. Yeah. I see daytime call approach as a 2 middle finger salute to a society that wants to keep you static. Yeah, like society has fed you a steady diet of bullshit. And I think once you actually put yourself out there, start doing things that terrify you, running towards resistance, running away from comfort like your life depends on it, you can actually see the programming. You can see all of the lies that you've been told by the mainstream media, the pickup industry, the manosphere. It's just a bunch of bollocks. And when you're around people such as myself and the rest of the guys in our private community, the Entourage, you are really starting to undo the programming at a violently fast speed. And after we did that social freedom exercise in Malaga, he was actually a new person. Yeah, he was speaking to the camera for about a minute. I said to him, listen, just do it for 30 seconds and, you know, that's fucking awesome. He was speaking for about a minute. Why? Because belief follows action. Yeah, belief follows action. Nobody wants to do these things. Approaching a girl, going to the gym, having your face punched in a Muay Thai class in Bangkok. The mind wants to keep you safe. The mind doesn't want you to do these things because it wants to claw you back into sameness. But every time you make that decision to approach that woman or to do that scary thing or to do that final set or to go to a Muay Thai class, you are saying to the world, I'm not going to be programmed anymore. Yeah, you're taking ownership of your life. And that's what this discipline is. It's not call approach. It's not pick up. It's not day game. It's freedom from bullshit. This is why I love what I teach so much. Anti-game, artistry. It's like looking at what everyone is saying and just saying, yeah, fuck you. I don't want to do it that way. And being able to live in this way, yeah, it's quite an indescribable feeling. It's like you can only know it if you live it. So did our in-person in Malaga. Sean went from having never done a daytime call approach in his entire life. By the end of day one, he was number closing Moroccan women inside of restaurants, right? So like at the start of the day, he was wondering if he'd even be able to walk over to a woman who was standing still. And by the end of day one, he was number closing Moroccan women inside of restaurants in front of everybody, like ferocious spotlight effect. 49 years old, guy who'd never done a daytime approach in his life. And he came out of that restaurant and he's like, I don't even know what came over me there. I'm like, congratulations, you've just gone through a personal renaissance. And it's only day one. So we finished our in-person in Malaga. I gave him the playbook. I held him accountable. And what's important for me is the time that we spend together during that one-to-one immersion. As far as I'm concerned, that's just the start of everything. My commitment to you doesn't end when those 3 days end. So once I'd got Sean to a great level in just 3 days, he was then part of our community, the Entourage. He was attending weekly group coaching calls. He was linking up with some of the other guys in different cities across the world. And then he was checking in with me during weekly one-to-one calls where I was constantly holding him accountable. Now, the biggest breakthrough for Sean came when he actually returned back to his home city. So if you've been to Malaga, you'll know the deal in Malaga. It's quite a party town. Yeah, people are there for a good time, not a long time. So his biggest reservation was, would he be able to replicate the skill set back home? And I'll be completely honest, when Sean originally returned home, he returned back to a very small town, right? So he'd gone from the bright lights of Malaga to his small town. But the reason why he wanted to leave Malaga was he wanted to start building his forever home, right? So he wanted to meet a woman in his hometown, set up a family in his hometown where he'd got roots. I remember having a conversation with him couple weeks after he'd returned home, and he found himself at home, no women whatsoever. Malaga did feel like this fantastical dream, and now he found himself at home in this massive house which he owned. And we had a one-to-one conversation, and he asked me, listen, I need a no bullshit answer right now, because that's how I operate with my clients. Is I'm just no bullshit, right? I don't care about offending you or hurting your feelings, because your success is my priority. So if that means hurting your feelings to get you the result that you want, fair fucking play. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to get results. And I'll do whatever it takes to get the result that people want. I don't tell people what they need to know. I don't tell people what they want to hear. I tell them what they need to know. So he said to me, do you think I should sell the house? Right? He was like, do you think I should sell this house? I've got this massive house here, but I've got nobody to enjoy it with. Should I just sell it and go back to Malaga? And I thought about it for a little while. I remember saying to him, listen, I honestly think that you selling the house is you almost abandoning your dream of having a family in your small town. And he's like, yeah, but there's not really anybody here. I'm like, okay, well, how long does it take you to get to the nearest city? He's like, about 20 minutes. I'm like, well, just pull your finger out your ass then and just make an effort to go to your city more. And he loved that. Like, as a successful business owner, he appreciated the no bullshit feedback, and he realized he just wasn't pushing himself hard enough. Right? So after he had that realization, he kept the house. And I honestly believe him deciding to keep the house in his small town signaled to the universe he was serious about achieving his dream vision. It was like him putting his stake in the ground, saying, I'm going to achieve this thing, or I'm going to die trying. I'm not going to run away. I'm not going to sink into scarcity. I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I've got this skill. I've got an incredible network around me. I just need to push myself more. So we created a plan of action. Right? I said to Sean, listen, you just need to start putting yourself into more social environments more often, right? Never be at home. right? You've got this beautiful house, but you're not going to find anybody to bring or invite back to your house if you're spending all time at home. Like, he went into this like mini monk mode cycle where he was just focused on business, and that helped to stack more cash. But again, he's not going to meet anybody by just staying at home. So we had that reality check. I made him realize he's pissing his potential away. You've got this skill. You've got me in your corner every single week. You've got the rest of the guys who are cheering you on. You just need to put yourself into the city. So we made a plan. Every week, without question, he would go into the city and he would do something social, whether it was returning a pair of jeans, going to a cafe, going to a bookshop. And then the biggest domino fell one night. Right. So I remember I was here in Bangkok and I got a message from him. I was in a 7-Eleven and I got a message that got pinged through from Sean, and it was a voice message. And he said, "Hey man, I've just noticed that there is a speed dating event going on in the city later today. Do you think I should go to it?" I'm like, "Dude, the best shit in the woods." Like, obviously you should go for it. But he's like, "Yeah, but it's speed dating. There's going to be a lot of just like randomers there. I don't know if I'm going to meet anybody there." I'm like, "Dude, shut the fuck up. Just go," right? Because what we need to do is stack social momentum, okay? And this is why I need you to get across, and this is going to become apparent when the story finishes. Getting results from cold approach does not mean that you're going to meet your woman, your wife-worthy woman, necessarily on the streets, right? The streets are the training ground. You don't get stuck on the streets, right? Sean didn't meet his wife-worthy woman on the streets, but it was who he became on the street. All of those social reps that he put in, the emotional resilience, knowing how to handle objections, have longer conversations, deal with the spotlight effect, deal with the perceived social pressure, like we did during those social freedom activities in Malaga. Everything he learned on the street went in to when he met his wife-worthy woman. But dude, if there's one thing you take away from this stream, please let it be this. Learn day game. Do not become a day gamer. There is more to this skill set than just wandering around aimlessly like a bubble on the streets, right? It's not just walking around there trying to get your 10 sets in. "Oh, I'm doing street approaching." There is more to cold approach. There is more to the game of seduction than street approaching. Yeah, it's just one form of it. So you need to understand that, because you use the street as your training ground, like the dojo, and then you become a new person through radical action, and you transfer this identity to everywhere you go, whether it's a social gathering. Maybe you stood in line at a cafe and you swivel around and you see sexy Susie. You can strike up a conversation now, because every time you open somebody, if it's on the street, you become good at opening. You become good at acting on immediacy. You become good at transmuting thought into action. And that's the definition of power. It's minimizing the time between thought and action. Just like in the Bible, just like God. In the beginning, there was a word. He speaks it and it's created. So you'll learn everything you need to on the streets. And I remember saying to Sean, deep into our in-person in Malaga, I'm like, "Dude, you are not going to become a street approacher. Right, your life is too busy. Your lifestyle is too hectic. You've got way too many responsibilities to be wandering around the streets for 3 hours, right? That's not you. And this is not what I teach. I'm teaching you how cold approach, or how you can become the version of yourself who cold approach can work for. And this is why all of my coaching is one-to-one, because everybody that I work with, they all need different strategies. They all need a individually tailored plan of action. What works for Sean might not work for somebody else. This is why group coaching is flawed, right? You go to some bullshit 3-day boot camp with some coach you've just seen on the internet, and you're there with like 40 other guys completely clueless. It's like the blind leading the blind. And you leave that experience more puzzled than what you started, because nobody sat you down and explained how this can work for you, how you can become the version of yourself that cold approach can work for. So Sean's blueprint was simple. He did all the reps that he was ever going to need to do on the streets with me in Malaga. Again, one approach with me is worth about 30 approaches on your own. So I just allow people to skip all the trial and error, ditch the guesswork, find out what works for them. I give them feedback after every single approach. And again, look, evidence has got the loudest voice. By the end of day one, he was number closing hot Moroccans in a fucking restaurant. So yeah, if you're curious about the testimonials that I get, by the way, go into the description. You can see testimonials, and there's more on my website. I've got testimonials coming out my ass at this point, but yeah, I just think it's important in this industry because a lot of people talk a big game, but a lot of people just stay at home talking about theory, and you never see them in the field with their clients coaching. You never see them in the field actually doing the thing that they teach. You certainly never see client results. So yeah, I've always seen myself as separate from this industry. I think there's just a lot of charlatans and a lot of sharks who, quite frankly, shouldn't be coaching, but they just see it as a way to make quick money. But for me, I'm in this for the rest of my life. I think in terms of decades rather than days, and my reputation is attached to my client's success, and that's why I'm selective about the people that I work with. And I would say that's why the clients that I do work with, why they get the results that they do, because they get such an individually tailored level of care that it's actually crazy. So yeah, listen to the testimonials in the description if you want to. So Sean's blueprint was simple. Did the in-person, went back home, got himself into a little rut, which can be normal. Like, we're not robots at the end of the day. Yeah, we've all got different responsibilities, businesses to run, different visions that we're trying to accomplish. So I was with him in his corner throughout the whole thing, just giving him like a voice of reason and somebody to reach out to. That no bullshit feedback was really appreciated. And then really all he needed to do was continue to put himself in social environments, right? So he got the playbook, and all he needed to do from there was continue to be social on a weekly basis. And all that meant was him making the decision every single Saturday to go into the city, literally just put himself in social environments where social interaction is more likely to occur. Again, never be at home. And then I think it was about 3 months into us being connected. It might have been a little bit less than that. 3 months within us being connected, he shot me a message one day, and then we picked up another one-to-one call. And it was probably one of the most emotionally charged conversations I've had with a client, because he narrated a story whereby he'd gone to that speed dating event, and the speed dating event actually turned out to be a massive laugh. Like, he actually loved it. He's like, I can't believe I've not been doing this more. He wasn't going there to fucking grab a granny. He wasn't going there to try and like get lucky with some woman that he didn't actually find attractive. He was going there purely to stack social momentum. And then I think it was the week after the speed dating event, he then got invited to go out with some of his friends to an event during like the nighttime. And whilst he was at this event, he got speaking with this Uruguayan woman. So he was speaking with this Uruguayan woman. She was fairly attractive, and he was kind of feeling it, kind of not. And then him and the rest of his group and this Uruguayan woman, they all bounced to this other venue. And it was in this other venue that he met her. He met the wife-worthy woman. So around this table, there was some more people that Sean knew, but it was this like mysterious woman who he'd never met before. And by this point, Sean was on social fire. Right, he was on absolute social fire. So he'd been flirting with the Uruguayan woman. She wasn't really ticking his boxes, but he was speaking with her. He was getting that FaceTime with the feminine. He was cracking jokes around everybody. He had all of this social momentum stacked prior to the event. And then they get into this next venue, and there's people sat around the table. He introduced himself to everybody. He's got really great energy at this point. And then he locks eyes with this other woman. And the two of them instantly hit it off. Like, all the things that I taught him, the non-neediness, the operating from wholeness rather than from that place of lack, the understanding that belief follows action, the way you start is not the way that you finish. The two of them hit it off. They basically just spent a long time during that night together, and then they exchanged contact details. She was jetting off to a different city the day later. So they exchanged contact details. And then they scheduled a date for, I think, the following fortnight. I remember getting on the phone to him, and he was, talking to me about everything just felt right with this woman. It's like, when you meet somebody and you just know instantly that you've got that cosmic connection. Like, I don't believe in the one, but I do believe in soulmates. I believe that there are women who have been put on this earth specifically for us, and it's our job as men to become the version of ourselves who's ready to receive these women. I guarantee if Sean had met this woman a year ago, I mean, first of all, he probably wouldn't have approached her, but he hadn't yet become the version of himself who was ready to receive this woman. So all of the reps that he put in, the social freedom exercises, the number closing, the getting phone numbers that didn't lead anywhere, the flakes, the rejections, the below average dates, like everything compounded over this period of time to deliver this woman to him. And don't forget as well, he'd made the decision to stay in his house, putting his stake in the ground, saying, this is what I want. I'm going to go after what I want rather than settling for what I think I can get. So he met this woman. We had this conversation. He was super happy. And he was like, dude, like, I honestly can't believe it. Like, she is ticking all my boxes. It's weird. Like, I've never felt like this before. Like, we've not known each other that long, but it just feels right. It just feels good. And yeah, in that moment, he kind of like had an emotional moment where he just said, I fucking love you, man. I fucking love you. Just thank you. Like, thank you for everything. Thank you for keeping me on course, for giving me the no bullshit feedback, all of your advice along the way. Like, just like the small things that you said to me. Thank you. Like, I can honestly see this going somewhere. I actually spoke with Sean 2 days ago and we had a conversation and things are getting serious now. Like, the two of them have been discussing families and actually getting serious and starting a life together. And he's like, I don't think she's the one that I'm looking for. I know. Right. And this is a guy who's got skin in the game. He's savvy. He's a savvy business owner. He knows what he's doing. He's not stupid. And just the fact that within a 6-month time period, he'd gone from being completely hopeless, especially in the realm of daytime call approach. He's now 50 years old. He's met this wife-worthy woman. Things are getting serious. They're having the serious conversations. They've got trips booked away. He's taken her, like they're going to be traveling the world together. And yeah, they're just in this love bubble. And people might listen to this story thinking, oh, well, he's only getting results because he's a successful business owner. It's like, listen, motherfucker, do you think that successful businesses are created by luck? No, they're created by design. He's been in this business that he's doing now for the best part of 3 decades. He's built it from the ground up. Yeah. So it's like, I always see these mind-dead morons online, like, oh, well, it's easy for him. He's got a business. It's like, well, yeah, you realize that you could have one too, but you just don't want to try. So, and the thing is as well, with someone like Sean, he'd already had all of these things before meeting me. He had the looks, he had the money, he had the status, he had the career, he'd prioritized his health. He already had these things. This is why I said to you at the start, it's an internal game that we're playing. Like, I work with 6, 7, even 1 8-figure entrepreneur, and it's not their external game which is lacking, it's their internal. They experience failure in advance. They think too many steps ahead. They tell themselves stories which need to be destroyed from their mental narrative, like, I'm not good enough. Why would a woman like her ever want a guy like me? Oh, I'm not going to be able to attract her because I'm too old. Maybe I'm too boring. Maybe I'm not charismatic enough. Maybe I don't have enough money. All of this blah, blah bullshit. And what I do is I come in, I penetrate the bullshit. I say to them, listen, you need to start seeing yourself how the world sees you. Have more of this justified arrogance. I think this is something that is lacking from many men's interactions with women. I'm not saying be a full-out narcissist, but what I am saying, especially if you're like my typical client who is a successful business owner or entrepreneur or busy professional, remind yourself of your worth. Like, for fuck's sake, have an audit of your life. Like, literally remind yourself about all of the obstacles you've had to face, all the challenges you've had to overcome in order to get to where you've got to today. And when the majority of guys, even really successful guys, approach women, they end up pedestalizing the woman, and all they know about her is she looks beautiful. Okay, that's cool, but what else has she got? What else is she bringing to the table? And this is why I say, forget about always be closing, always be qualifying. This is what Sean did. We had a group coaching call, and one of the topics for discussion was always be qualifying. So finding out, this woman that you're with, who is she beneath the beauty? Does she smoke? What is her relationship like with her parents? What sort of childhood did she have? What sort of upbringing? What are her plans for the future? Does she want to be a mother? Does she have siblings? What's her relationship like with her siblings, right? A lot of guys, because they're so needy and they're so thirsty, they'll just take whatever comes along and they don't qualify. Yeah, it's the same in business. You're not trying to close every client that comes through the funnel. You're trying to qualify to find out, who are my people? right? Attract your people and repel the rest. Understanding you only need one, right? I'm not here for the guys who are trying to get through 2,000 women, just trying to get their notch count up, some like empty lay formula, which is like a decade out of date. Yeah, I'm not here for some weird brain dead pickup artists or manospheric disciples who are adamant that it's all about looks. Like, I strongly believe it's all about looks. Okay, well, if that's what you believe, that is what you'll experience, right? Perception's reality. As a man thinketh, so is he. And again, there's nothing special about me. Yeah, I started off in the absolute mud. You can watch the earliest videos on my channel. I did my first direct cold approach in Leeds City Centre on the 4th of July 2020 during the pandemic, when all I knew was face masks and social distancing. And in a relatively short space of time, I've changed my life around, and now I change other people's lives. So I think Sean's story really demonstrates what happens when you take the right actions and when you are programmed positively with the right mindsets, right? There's no point going out there and cold approaching if you are repeating the same mistakes. It is actually a losing game, because all that's going to happen is you're going to get good at the wrong thing. And then over time, you're going to solidify those mistakes until they could become too difficult to break, right? So if you've been going out there and you're not getting any result, every woman is flaking, you're not landing any dates, you are giving off some like creepy vibe, or maybe you've not even approached yet, then what you're doing right now is not working. It's either the actions that you're taking, the beliefs that you hold, or character traits that you currently have, right? So until you've got a spotlight on those things, you're going to continue making the same mistakes. So Sean is a perfect example that your age is not a liability. It can be an asset, right? But it's all about the actions. It's all about the beliefs. It's all about the mindsets, and it's all about the guidance that you're taking. So yeah, shout out to Sean. Within 182.5 days, he's gone from feeling hopeless, having never done a daytime call approach his entire life, feeling needy, feeling simpy, feeling supplicating, to now actually meeting a wife-worthy woman who he could actually get married to and start a family with. And I don't think there's any better case study for cold approach, like learning the skill, but then transferring the skill, but more importantly, transferring the identity into every conversation that you have. It's not just street approaching. Learn the skill on the streets and then go and apply it everywhere. This is why it's just so moronic when guys will post, cold approach doesn't work. Dude, what you're saying is street approaching has not yielded positive results for you. It's not that cold approach doesn't work, it's that you don't work. It works as long as you do. It's like saying sales doesn't work, or marketing doesn't work, or cold calling doesn't work. Well, there are plenty of millionaires out there who make it work. Yeah. So the current version of you hasn't become the version who cold approach can work for. So rather than going out there, learning lines, rehearsing routines, learning some gimmicky hacks for attention, focus on building an identity, because that's the only thing that's going to save you. It's not learning more. It's stripping back the bullshit and then connecting with your most authentic self. So yeah, listen, if this live stream has been useful, drop it a like, consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to look at the testimonials, more testimonials, then comments, description. And yeah, I'm going to be doing more of these spontaneous sporadic live streams. There's going to be no upload schedule, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss them. I think it's quite nice watching these live as well. You get more of a raw authenticity. So yeah, that's cool. All right, love you. Mwah.